Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Network podcast, brought to you by PlayNFC.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Network. I'm your host, Greg Ambrosius, and I'm joined again tonight by Nelson Sousa of FTNFantasy.com. We've got a live stream RotoWire online championship, 12 teams, 20 rounds, $1,500 league prize, $250,000 grand prize. Nelson, you plan on winning that $250,000 grand prize, right?
I've been very close. I think this is my year.
This is your year. All right. So let's try and get it tonight. So you do have the first pick. Is that your top preference? How are you doing your KDS this year?
My KDS has actually been 1 and then to the back.
Okay.
To me, Jefferson is the clear-cut guy for me. I could definitely see Jamar Chase, in the shootout, potentially outdoing Jefferson, but I want to get Jefferson, and then I just want to go to the back end. The back end is where you can do so many different things from the back end. So I kind of like it that way.
I mean, I've been watching these, and Tom and I have been doing the live streams, and that 12 spot seems to go 3 wide receivers or 4 wide receivers. Did you have the 12 spot the other night and you got Kelsey, or was it 11 spot and you got Kelsey?
12, and I went Kelsey Mahomes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, people are doing that. I'm seeing A.J. Brown and Hurts. I mean, we're seeing a lot of stacking this year. Do you think in this contest that you do need to have a stack to win, or not necessarily?
I prefer to stack. I think, like I said in the last show last week, I think that's the fastest way to accumulate points, especially in the shootout when you're in a 3-week sprint trying to outscore, a bunch of teams.
Right.
But it's not. I don't go out of my way. I'm not gonna, forego a way better, obvious player just for the sake of stacking.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, we're going to have some fun with this one. Like I said, it's been a fun week. This is our 5th live stream of the week. Fantasy Life did one on Wednesday at RotoWire Online Championship. The Ship Chasing Crew did a Best Ball Championship on Wednesday night as well. And I was telling you before, Nelson, the Ship Chasing Crew, they're bringing in some new customers. I mean, they've got 4 guys in the August 16th Silver Bullet who have never played with us before, but are jumping in there. They're going to compete against Pete and take their one shot at the $50,000 grand prize. So that's what we're trying to do with the live stream. Show everybody how to play this game, see how the pros are building their teams, and then join us, right? Jump on in and win some good money with us.
Absolutely. It can be done.
It can be done, definitely. So we're going to show you tonight. Okay, Nelson, you have the first pick. Justin Jefferson seems to be the consensus number 1. Like you said, you set your KDS at 1, and then you go backwards. Can we assume that Justin Jefferson is going to go off the board in 40 seconds?
Yeah, that's going to be the pick.
All right, sounds good. Now, if you had the 2 pick, last week you did have the 2 pick. What's your feeling with Chase? I mean, Chase was on, I think, the NFL Network today, and he said, I don't care if Burrow comes back in week 5. I just want him to come back for healthy and then the playoff runs. Are you getting scared off by Chase at all on this talk about Burrow, or can we just assume, hey, that's just talk? Burrow's going to be out there in week 1.
That's the thing. You have to be able to filter it and decide for yourself. Is that just all talk and all about nothing, or him knowing the situation, is he kind of alluding to that, Burrow's not going to be ready to start the season?
I know.
That there's actually question about it.
Yeah, I didn't know what to take from that either. Again, like I said, he's just saying he wants him there in the playoffs so he can win until he gets back, but then they want him healthy, and I understand that. There you go. Chase goes off number 2. We had James Rodriguez on last night. He had the 2 pick, and he took Chase as well. Thought about McCaffrey, but again, kind of hope that he could get Burrow healthy in week 1. He had 2 shots in rounds 3 and 4 for Burrow, but did not stack him at all. He didn't feel that confident, I guess, but he took Chase there. So McCaffrey goes 3. But yeah, I mean, again, if you're in on Chase at 2, I kind of told him I would have stacked. I would have definitely taken him in round 4 there and roll the dice. You roll the dice with Chase, you might as well go with Burrow as well.
Yeah.
All right. So again, 12 teams, 20 rounds. We'll keep an eye on this one. This is third round reversal. That means we go 1 to 12, 12 to 1, then back 12 to 1 in round 3, and then serpentine after that. Hey, here we got a surprise already.
There we
Barkley
go. This is
at
what I
4.
like.
This is where we mix up. So last night, hey, I don't know if you were in that 11:55 one, but that was a wild one. And the James one at 10 o'clock was a wild one as well. I don't know what was in the water last night.
I've usually been in the midnight ones, but I skipped that one last night. I was out doing something else, and yeah, that was kind of crazy where the players went.
Yeah, Eckler went in the second round in that one. So,
Yeah.
okay, here we got Bijan going fifth overall. So Eckler, maybe he will fall to the second round. We'll see here. He's not one of the top 3 running backs going off the board today. So interesting start here with 3 running backs in the first 5 picks. I don't know if I've seen that so far this
This
year.
is already different, Greg.
Yes.
This is different from any draft I've been in.
Yep. All right.
This top 5 picks. I love it.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've seen the 3 running backs in the top 5, but again, I love it too. Is it old school? I don't know, but some of these guys may want to do hero running back builds. We've talked about that before, where you get that one running back and then you go with a lot of wide receivers after that. Maybe they'll
Yeah.
stack on running backs. We'll see here. So Tyreek Hill goes at 6. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets moved up to 7. Very interesting. A.J. Brown gets moved up to 8. And there's Cooper Kupp at 9. Nelson, where are you taking Cooper Kupp at this point? His ADP since the injury was at 7, but last night he was going 10 and 12. So I think I have to take a look, but I think it's a little lower than that right now.
I'm probably, if I was on the clock at like pick 10 or 11, that's probably where I would probably choose him.
All right. Again, the injury, we're not too worried about it, or the Rams are saying they're not too worried about it. I think we're worried about it, but the hope is that he'll be back for week 1 and healthy. But man, you hate to see any hamstring injuries or any muscle injuries like that. So Kupp goes at 9. Travis Kelce drops to 10. Austin Eckler goes at 11. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Eckler here. Let's see. His ADP in the last week is 8. Went 13 last night. He goes 11 tonight. So interesting. Diggs and Lamb at the term. There's that team 12 again. Seems to load up on wide receivers at team 12. So we'll watch that as well. Again, the roster builds we're going to watch tonight. And Nelson, I thought you did a good job last week, not critiquing, but just looking at the different roster builds and then saying what you might have done differently or whatever. Can we expect that again tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I usually like to wait till, maybe after like 6, 7 rounds and have a good feel of what, teams are doing and give them an opportunity to, put their plan together.
Absolutely. All right. We got one stack already. We got the Kelce Mahomes stack at the 10 spot. Boy, you're seeing that at the 6 spot. You're seeing that at the 7 spot. You're seeing an awful lot of that. We're not seeing as much A.J. Brown and Hurts, although we have a chance right here, A.J. Brown and Hurts. Okay, we got the 2 stacks to start off here. So, again, in this contest, over the last 2 years, we have seen that the stacks have paid off in weeks 15, 16, and 17. In 2021, it was Chase and Burrow, no doubt about it. And you could get that one pretty easily. Burrow was going around the 10th round last year. Last year, the Kelce Mahomes one in the last 3 weeks, and actually all year long, paid off for people. Again, you could get that stack pretty easily because Mahomes was going in the 4th round, even the 5th round as we got late in the season. Boy, the quarterbacks, think back a year ago, right? How the quarterbacks were dropping. Everyone was laying off. This year, we're getting 4 quarterbacks and sometimes the first 2 rounds, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think they're realizing that, quarterbacks, especially the elite ones, they had such an advantage last year over, some of the second tier QBs. So they've pushed them up.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you had Mahomes at 30, 31 points a game. You had the second tier guys at 24 points per game. I mean, there was a 6-point gap between the top 4 quarterbacks and the next tier per game. So that added up last year. You really did need one of those top 4 quarterbacks, I think, last year to do well. And if not, kudos to you if you did well without that. So here we're looking at team 5. So much for the hero running back. He goes with Bijan Robinson and Nick Chubb. gets his 2 running backs right now. Certainly can go wide receivers after this, but an interesting build here. Team 6 with 2 wide receivers. There you go. Team 4 grabs Barkley and then comes back with Olave, a player you like, I know, Nelson, but he hasn't been making it to 24 very much. I haven't seen a whole lot of Jefferson Olave lately, at least.
No, Olave definitely seems to be settling in where he's going in this second round,
Yep.
pretty locked in right now.
All right, Derrick Henry goes in the second round to Team 7. He went early last night as well. I don't know if we're hearing that he's going to catch more passes, which is always possible. But he's moved into the second round the last couple nights. All right, there's Jonathan Taylor goes at pick 22. So again, 2 out of those 3 teams that start out with running backs at the top end went with another running back there. Aha! Speaking of getting a top tier quarterback, you jump on Josh Allen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of made it known. It's no secret that I'm going to be a lot of these top tier QBs. I'm going to have quite a bit of ownership on those guys.
Mhm.
So that's just my plan this year. And anytime Allen, Hurts, or Mahomes, falls in the second round, most likely that means that a running back, wide receiver got cleaned up, and I'm going to go quarterback there.
Yep, there you go. All right, so we go back to Team 12 now to start third round reversal. So interesting. Why do we do third round reversal? I've said this a million times. Because the last thing Team 1 needs is the first pick in round 3. It's just as weighted in his favor. It's weighted towards Team 2. By going back right now, I mean, I'm sure you would love to have had Devontae Smith at this point. So I just think that third round reversal balances out each of the draft picks. We've proven it through the years because every year at the end of the year, we look at the primetime league champions and it's very, very balanced out. So, and with 3RR, there's a lot of people, with KDS, there's a lot of people who want to be at 12 because of third round reversal. So it really mixes up the game plans.
I mean, other than obviously, I'm doing quite a bit of teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
So other than wanting to have some ownership of Jefferson, I mean, I prefer the back end.
Mm-hmm.
So and then with the third round reversal, and you can choose, you can do KDS and choose your draft spots. Yeah, I mean, it adds a different dynamic to it. I do enjoy it, and what it does too is through draft season, like all through August here and into September, if you notice that you're starting to acquire too many of some of these guys that are going in the top 24 ADP,
Mm-hmm.
you can shift your KDS and almost not guarantee it, but you can come close to having the draft spot you want and get exposure to other players.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it. And if you're a good player, you kind of map out where you want to be. Like when we get to the prime time in the big money private leagues, you want 6 or 8 or 9. In fact, in the Platinum League, we pull the baseballs right out of a hat, call someone's name, Nelson, which one do you want? These guys think for a while, and then say 8 because they kind of know what the other guys are going to pick ahead of them. I mean, I remember with Mike Santos with McCaffrey, he wanted 6, and we're like, and he thought, him and Kurt just thought and then said 6. And that's where they got McCaffrey, and McCaffrey led them to a title. All right, here we are in round 3. Justin Herbert goes off the board at pick 26. Mark Andrews is the second tight end to go off the board at pick 28. And then it's a lot of yellow here. We're seeing some wide receiver run right here.
Only 2 teams, though, that went 3 wide in the first 3 rounds. So Team 6 and Team 12. So that's going to be interesting to see how they build their teams.
Absolutely. Let's see if no one's going to, we'll see if Team 3 goes 3 running backs. We don't see that very much as well. All right, there's Lamar Jackson. So you've got 5 of the top quarterbacks going in the first 33 picks. So again, if you want one of these top guys, I think there's a top 8 when it comes to quarterback. That certainly seems what we're watching in the early drafts here, ending with Lawrence there as one of the top tier quarterbacks. But yeah, these top 4, certainly the top 3 guys are head and shoulders. And then we watch for Burrow. I mean, Burrow has not been picked yet. Team 2 had a chance to double up there. He must know Nelson's not going to take Burrow at this point, so maybe he'll come back and take him in round 4. We'll see what happens here. Well, you got yourself a nice potpourri here. 2 wide receivers, a running back, and a quarterback. Talk about Metcalf and Gibbs.
I don't think I've ever seen DK Metcalf at this pick.
Uh-huh.
So we'll have to take a look and see what his max pick is.
Yeah, I'm going to look here.
And then Gibbs is a guy that I've kind of done a 180 on as the draft season's gone along. My initial thought when I first started drafting was that I wasn't going to be interested in Gibbs. And, I've come around to it that I think that him and Montgomery can coexist and that offense is capable of taking another step forward this year.
Yep, definitely. Yep. Metcalf, he has gone 36th overall. His ADP is 27 over the last week, but one time he's gone at 36. So you got the max over the last week, which is almost 24 drafts. So there you go, team 2. He does get Chase and Burrow. Good decision there in round 3. You knew Nelson was going to take Burrow on the turn there. So you got Ramondre Stevenson and Burrow. So right now we've got 3 stacks, Chase, Burrow. We got time for more, obviously, but Hurts and A.J. Brown and Mahomes and Kelsey. So interesting here. Team 11, well, he could certainly stack a Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson. There's others left here. So, all right, team 3 starts out McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, then Debo and Chris Godwin. Can I ask you about Jonathan Taylor? What a week it's been. He goes into the Irsay bus, comes out, wants to be traded. Irsay says, no way in hell are we trading you. What's your feelings on Taylor at this point?
He's a guy that I'm probably going to be avoiding if that's where he's going to be drafted. I'm just not going to have any Taylor. And any guy that I'm potentially fading, there's usually a price that I'm willing to take them at if they fall far enough and try to build a different looking team with having them at a low ADP draft pick. But yeah, second round I think is a little too rich for him.
Yeah, at this point, I want to know more what's going on. We don't know if it's a back injury as well. I mean, they were talking about putting him on the NFI, which would have been interesting. Yes, Metcalf did go 36 last night. That was the other time that he went 36.
That's interesting. I try to stay up with the news on a daily basis or hour to hour, and I haven't heard anything negative on Metcalf.
No.
I wonder why the sudden drop going late third round.
Do not know, but in this one, Herbert and Jackson kind of got pushed up a little bit, so that moves him down a little bit. Stevenson moved up a little bit in this draft, Debo a little bit maybe. So just a few spots that he went, though. So again, hey, we got a lot of people here. If you want a question or if you got a comment, put it in the chat. I'll try to keep up on it. I actually didn't have that open before. I apologize, but I see it now. So bring your plans here, or bring your comments here, your questions. Nelson and I will get to them. There we go. We got third tight end. TJ Hawkinson goes to team 8 in round 4. You want to get one of those top quarterbacks. What's your thoughts on tight ends?
Same thing with tight ends. I've always been against going early quarterback and early tight end. I never used to like the way my teams were, looked after the draft. But what I've found is that it doesn't matter what your team looks like after the draft or on paper. It's all about building edges at certain positions and then having confidence in your waiver wire ability to be able to pick up players, as the season goes on to, put in that whatever weak spot it is that you have on your roster.
Yep. All right. Joe Burrow was the 6th quarterback off the board. Again, with this injury, I mean, he certainly was the 4th quarterback going off the board before him, and Lamar Jackson then got a little bit closer. Now with the injury, he was the 6th quarterback, and Justin Fields was the 7th one going off the board. There you go. Herbert and Mike Williams. We've got a little bit of a hookup there for Team 11. So it's all about hookups tonight, at least so far.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Team 6, after starting with 3 wide receivers, he decided to take his first running back with Najee. And then Team 10, where he started Kelsey Mahomes, he went with Higgins, and he's preferred to kind of go with more of a balanced approach It looks like. So we'll
Yep.
see how that plays out. And then Team 12, uh, same thing. He started with the three wide receivers, but it stops there.
Yep.
He takes Brees Hall, and then takes a top quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yep, interesting. Like I said, in Team 12, we've seen this an awful lot. Maybe four wide receivers and then a quarterback, really holding off on the running back. There's really not a zero running back team here. Yes, two teams start out with three running backs, but they're getting their three wide receivers, but they're getting their first running backs here in round 4. Okay, Trevor Lawrence was the 8th quarterback. Now we'll have a wait probably because that is the top tier of quarterbacks. 8 quarterbacks in the first 49 picks. Again, we did not see that last year. Mahomes sometimes went after pick 49. Josh Allen went before him. If you remember last year, he was going in the 3rd round, 36, 35. But boy, 8 quarterbacks in the first 49 compared to last year where we may have had 1 quarterback in the first 49. Henry Muto's in here. He says he's done 0 OCs. You've watched an awful lot of OCs, Henry, but he hasn't done any. He's going to get 50 drafts in 2 weeks, he says. So good luck with that. That sounds like a hell of a vacation, but get your butt in here. I know you got some TBD entries, so get in here, boys. Let's start drafting. And telling you what, Nelson, we are filling up these OCs like crazy. I mean, we've had 3 already tonight. We got the midnight owl that'll probably fill as well. 3, 4 a night. I like the pace that we're on right now.
Yeah, are you ahead of last year's
yeah.
pace?
Yep. With the online championship, we definitely are. Last year we finished with 47. What was it? 4,748, I think it was, teams, and I think we will finish above that this year.
Okay. And the other thing, I went through last night and this morning, and I was starting to use a lot of my TBD prime times and picking dates. I don't remember, and I was too lazy to look. I didn't care too much, but maybe you know the answer. Well, you should. Is when did the prime times start last year? Because I feel like they've started like a week later this year.
No, this was exactly the same weekend. We're starting them on that weekend of the 19th, I believe it was. So it gives us, what is that, three full weeks. So yeah, we've never really started way too early. I'm not quite sure if we could probably sell a few earlier, but no, this is the same time that we did last year. Was the weekend before, 3 weeks before.
Understood.
All right, here we go. In this round, we had Travis Etienne, who's been falling into the 5th round. Tanks Bigsby's starting to get some love, and that means Etienne's fallen. What are your thoughts on the Jacksonville situation?
Yeah, I mean, Bigsby's made a couple of highlight catches, one-handed catches. I certainly hope anyone that, is a decent receiving back or a wide receiver could make one-handed catches.
Yeah.
I mean, my kid that's in high school, that he practices that all day.
Yeah.
One-handed catches. So I don't think much of it, but I do think it's funny that when a video is posted on Twitter or social media, the guy that night, in a draft gets moved up.
I totally agree with you. And like you said, it's just practice. You've seen a couple of nice catches. Now they're saying, man, he's got good hands. He's really got good hands. Okay. All right. We'll see it in the game. What happened to you?
I can't believe these guys are like, so we talked about this. Like, I have certain fades. I have certain guys that, I fade in drafts. A lot of it sometimes has to do with ADP, but when I feel like they fall past a certain spot, I'm willing to take them. So the first guy I'm going to take is going to be Jacobs.
All right, pick 60.
I have no Jacobs. So the way I look at it is if I'm not willing to take Jacobs here, then I'm never going to own him in any draft this year.
Absolutely. So, last week his ADP is 39. He's gone as low as 57. You got a new low for this last week on him.
Let's see. Oh,
I
just
told you to get
they're,
in
they're
here,
making it,
Henry. You
they're
could have
making
got
it
him.
tough, man. They're making it tough. Man, even this is kind of low for this guy. That all right.
Yes, we
We're
are.
gonna go in a different direction.
Oh boy, you're going a different direction. Last week you started with 3 running backs. Now you've got 3 running backs in your first 6. Again, Mixon, you just feel he fell too far, right?
Yeah, again, I don't have. Do I have a Mixon team? I can't remember drafting him, Greg.
Okay.
So once again, if I'm gonna pass on Jacobs and Mixon here at this spot, um, I'm just never gonna draft them.
Yep.
So I might as well take them at a almost close to a max pick
Yep.
probably.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Gibbs, Jacobs, and Mixon, you're fine now at running back for a while. I think you'll be hitting some wide receivers in a bit.
Yeah, that hurts because that's not my philosophy. That's not my way of drafting. Usually, you see a lot of yellow stickers to begin the draft.
Well, Mr. Bald is beautiful. I don't know if that is Jack Hahn, but I think he's saying you had to take both, Nelson. They just
I
fell
mean,
to you, right?
I didn't have to, but yes, I mean,
Yes.
it's
Take the value there. All
yeah,
right,
yeah,
Mike, congratulations. Last year you did the auction uh, championship and you won that one. You're a defending champ. You want to ask about third round reversal? I explained this a little bit earlier in the show, but I have no problem doing it again. So why do we do third round reversal? Well, it goes 1 to 12, 12 to 1, and then round 3 goes 12 to 1. It balances out all 12 draft spots, we believe. As I said, the last thing Nelson needed was having the first pick in round 3 after starting with Jefferson and Allen. So it gives 12 a little bit of a better chance to balance his team and be competitive. And with our KDS, it allows people to tell us where they want to draft. There's a lot of people, because of third round reversal, who want to start at 12, right? Or 11, the back end. Like Nelson said, his KDS is 1 and then backwards, 12, 11, 10 usually, because
yeah,
he likes that third round reversal. So it really does mix up where you can draft, how you can draft a team. And we've proven through the years, because we track the league champions in the prime time every year, there's league champs coming out of all 12 spots, and it's very, very balanced. So that's why
yeah.
we do third round reversal here.
Ideally for me in this format, if I could go to pick 12 and start with 2 wide receivers and then like one of those quarterbacks sneaks into the third round,
Yep.
like that would probably be my ideal start.
Right. Right. Yep. And sometimes that happens where Allen or Mahomes drops to that back end. So it's interesting to watch. And that's why people like to be back at 12 or 11. All right. Mike,
So
what do you mean you're sorry you just came on? Yeah, you should start right away. But we're doing these very often. Like I said, we've had 5 this last week. We'll do more live streams. In fact, we got one on Monday with NFFC Hall of Famer Chris Vaccaro, 10 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. We'll do an online championship again. All right. What were you going to say there, Nelson?
no, I was just looking at some of the teams, the way they've started here. We're through 6 rounds now, and it's interesting with Team 2.
Yep.
He went with Chase and Burrow stack, but he went running back heavy, and then he got his tight end, which I don't mind. But it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, he's made the decision that Javante is going to be like his flex guy, so
Yep.
he's only going to start 3 wide receivers.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see what he does, from here.
Yep.
So that's interesting. And then Team 6, was one of the 2 teams that started wide receiver heavy
Yep.
in going with the first 3 rounds wide receiver.
Yep.
And then he's now added Najee with Deontay Johnson and a tight end in Pitts. So trying to grab an edge at that other position.
Yep.
And then it will be interesting to see what he does with his second running back and his quarterback
Right.
position.
Yeah, I was looking at Team 2 as well before you started talking there. You don't see very often where you take a wide receiver in the first round and then don't take another one for 6 more picks at least, right?
Yeah.
It's very rare that you would see that. Like the Javante pick in round 5 would usually probably be a wide receiver, But again, he feels like he's got an edge there, and he may go with 3 running backs each week. So doesn't need to have a wide receiver right away. But we'll see what falls to him in round 7 and 8. Team 12, there's the build there. Start out with 3 wide receivers. Now go 3 running backs, J.K. Dobbins and Damian Pierce at the 6-7 turn to go along with Trevor Lawrence. Again, we got 8 quarterbacks off the board. We got 4 teams that don't have a quarterback. There's no rush to get a quarterback at this point.
I like what Team 10 has done as far as I like the players. So he started with that Mahomes-Kelsey stack.
Yep.
And he's been able to put the running backs together, and I like the 2 receivers he's taken. So we'll see what how else he fills the rest of his lineup here.
Well, he's got 2 Packers, so that's why I like that team as well. He went with Jones and Watson back to back, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing with Jones and Watson. You better hope that Jordan Love is legit, because if he's not, having two of those players on the same team in your lineup could be good or bad correlation.
Absolutely. Tomorrow night is family night at Lambeau Field. Nelson, they sell tickets. They do a practice in Lambeau Field. They'll sell it out, 78,000 people. I think it's $10 a ticket. But it's fabulous to bring your kids to that. I brought all 3 of my kids for several years to family night. In fact, we were there for Rodgers' first appearance, 2008. Favre came in on the helicopter, wanted to play. They wouldn't let him play. They put him up in the press box and then told him, "We're not going with you anymore. We're going to trade you." He was hurt, of course. But everybody was rallying around Rodgers at that time, and he played terrible. He was terrible at family night. I was like, "What
Was he?
the heck?" Oh, he was terrible. He was so nervous. He knew Favre was there. The next week they played against Cincinnati. I went to that game with my daughter, and he looked fabulous. He just settled in. The coaches said, "We're going with you. We're trading Favre," and he was a just totally different quarterback. Hey, there's Alvin Kamara. We're going to talk about him. He goes in round 7.
Sorry, Greg. Go ahead.
I was going to say his ADP in the last week was 88. So if I do my math here, it's 72 and 577. So a full round earlier. What are your thoughts there?
I was interested. I was going to pass him tonight because I did do a draft earlier at 8:00, and I wanted to see where he's going to go the next couple of drafts, just to get a feel for it. And I was genuinely curious because I had him already in my rankings with figuring that he was going to miss a couple of games. So the 3 games doesn't really change anything for me. I would probably just keep him where he is. And if they move him way up from where I have him ranked, then he's probably a guy I'm just not going to end up having much of. But I'd probably say he's moved up a round.
Right.
Yeah, so round 7 is probably
right.
He was probably going what, round 8?
Yeah, his ADP was 88, so he's going early in the 8th round there. Yeah. So again, I think most people felt it could have been 4 to 6, but I think most people felt it was going to be 4 games. He got 3 games for suspension. So I think he moves up at most a round. I think the 7th is about where he should go and will probably go. All right, there's team 2 getting Cortland Sutton to go along with Jamar Chase. So keep an eye on his turn coming back in round 8. You must be looking at some wide receivers.
Yeah, you think? Let's see.
There you go. Knox says, gotta love Sutton. I mean, absolutely. He held off, and he could get the wide receiver 2 there in Denver, obviously. We're waiting with bated breath on what Nelson is going to do. A little upside there with Elijah Moore. And very much upside on Zay Flowers. Holy cow, I saw Peter King wrote he was in Baltimore yesterday and said he's the most exciting player he has seen this early in camp.
Yeah, and obviously with going quarterback early and 3 running backs, I like to have good wide receiver play, and we'll see if I'm going to get that from these guys. But I felt like I needed a little juice on this team.
Yeah.
So those two guys offer it.
Absolutely. Zay Flowers, yeah, his ADP in the last week is 93, but he has gone as high as 75th. Again, I think this last couple days he's been going much higher because of the reports. So he goes 85 right here. Sky Moore and then Quentin Johnson. So we got some young wide receivers going off the board here in this turn here for 1, 2, and 3. George Pickens, Quentin Johnson, Sky Moore, Cortland Sutton, Elijah Moore, Zay Flowers. Good
Yeah,
stuff there.
team 3, I'm not really going to comment on as far as the players, whether I like them or not. I'm just focused more on the team build and how he's constructing the team. For going 2 running backs to start, I kind of like what he's done as far as to round out his wide receivers.
Yep.
And what also he's done to make it work is that he's got Samuel and Godwin, kind of like 2 veteran guys that can stabilize and be his 1-2. But then he's taken some young wide receivers that, of course, they've got a low floor, but definitely have a big ceiling. So I kind of like how he's put that together.
Absolutely. Let's see who he gets for his quarterbacks here as well. Be interesting. We did see Deshaun Watson go as the 9th quarterback in round 7 to team 7. Watson does seem to be the 9th quarterback going off the board recently. He did not play last night, obviously. He did have a ski hat on, though.
So Michael says in the chat that Team 3 is a Niners fan, and I'm just noticing it that he's going to have to go Brock Purdy, or he's a fraud, right? With McCaffrey, Debo, and Kittle.
Yep. I would agree. He doesn't have to take him as his first quarterback, but he's got to leave here with Brock Purdy, I think.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right there. Kittle, Samuel, and McCaffrey. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a lot of pass receptions, too. There's Michael Thomas going off the board. All right, we got ourselves 9 wide receivers in a row, 10 out of the last 11 picks, wide receivers. Dalvin Cook going in round 8. Dalvin isn't moving up. Obviously, he's not signed yet, but he's not moving up on any speculation, whether it's the Jets or whatever. Where do you think he goes?
At the end of the day, I think with all these, the big veteran running backs, right? It's Dalvin, Zeke, Fournette, and Hunt. Very talented guys, veteran guys that have been around. I think it's a little bit of 2 things. It's money and it's the role on the team. And I think Dalvin probably liked the possibility of playing for the Jets. He probably liked the possibility of playing for the Patriots. But I think when he goes in and meets with everyone and they talk about, what his role on the team's going to be and then what the money is, these guys are probably they're going to wait. They're going to wait for the preseason. They're going to wait. All it takes is, you get a couple of running backs that get banged up and all of a sudden these guys are their phone's going to start ringing.
Yeah, absolutely. If Dalvin liked the money that the Jets were offering him, he would have accepted. He was at their practice. He got fans cheering for him, chanting his name, and he left town, did not sign. So it's definitely coming down to the money. And I agree with you. All it takes is one veteran running back getting hurt, and Zeke's getting a call. Dalvin's getting a call. Fournette's getting a call. So they might as well just wait. Don't do 2-a-days and wait for the call to come. So interesting running backs here like Dalvin Cook. James Conner falls pretty far here to the 8th round. Isaiah Pacheco in the 8th round. Rashad Penny in the 8th round. Team 11 did go with the hero running back. He's the one guy who did go pretty full scale hero running back, Austin Eckler, and he waits and he gets Rashad Penny in round 8. Not a bad RB2 there.
Yep. No, I mean, I like that kind of build. So I like what he did there. That's kind of how you build it. You go with the hero running back and make sure that you get a playable tight end and a top quarterback, especially in this format. And you get the 4 wide receivers. And what I like too is so taking Jacoby, he's taken that number 5 wide receiver, and it's like, oh, why take a fifth wide receiver this early?
Hmm.
You punted your RB2, but I I like doing that also because you want to make sure that your fifth and sixth wide receiver are pretty strong because you're going to have injuries, you're going to have bye weeks
Yep.
throughout the season. So the strength of your team, you want to keep it that
Right.
way.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I didn't even think of the stack. I mean, obviously Eckler is a stack with Herbert, so he's got Eckler, Herbert, and Williams, which is a nice construction there, I think, for Team 11. And I
Yes,
agree. I mean,
that's it.
Jacoby Myers is going to be the wide receiver too, opposite of Adams. So there's a lot of upside, and they're talking that he's looking good, and he's more of a veteran now. So very interesting. I think Myers is a very good pick there. Kadarius Toney goes in round 9. Again, another guy that we're trying to keep an eye on. He's hurt. He's been falling. He had been moving on up. And Romeo Dobbs. All right. He's moving on up into round 9 right now. Like that.
Team,
He's got good
so
relationship with
Greg,
Love.
Team 10 said we are going full Kansas City
Yep.
and try to beat us.
Absolutely.
That's what he's going with.
Yep. Tony, Kelsey, Mahomes. He's going Kansas City, Green Bay. That's his
Pacheco,
combination.
Tony,
Pacheco, right. Right. I forgot about him.
and Kadarius.
I said this last night. I've got tickets for the Packers Chiefs game on December 3rd, and my daughter wants to go. I said, yes, I'll take you. I didn't realize it's a Sunday night game, December 3rd at Lambeau. When she heard that, she was like, I'll still go with you, but it's going to be cold, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be really cold. So that should be an interesting one. But they love to put the Packers December 3rd games on Sunday night because they don't care about us fans sitting in aluminum bleachers.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right,
So
let's see.
the question in the chat, yeah, I mean that's the thing is, uh, that's a lot of players from one team,
Yep.
and are you going to play them all? Or are they going to be able to return value? Are you going to be able? There's going to be weeks like where Kansas
Yep.
City struggles, and that team is going to struggle to put up 100 points
Right.
in that week. But it's a good offense to have players from.
Right.
And at the end of the day, Pacheco and Tony go cheap enough that it's not going to devastate his team if they don't work out. At the end of the day, Mahomes and Kelsey are their key guys
Right.
to that team.
I mean,
As they go, the team will go.
my answer to that question would be it has to be the right offense, right? Like Kansas City, and I think the Chargers can score points this year and should score points this year. Like you said, Pacheco and Tony, I mean, that's a flex decision right now. He's got 3 wide receivers, he's got 2 running backs, so one of those 2 he may probably play. Could he stack them all in 1 week? Yeah, if he's going against a bad defense, he probably could. But, I think those are stacks. A Philadelphia stack, I wouldn't be as worried about either. I think that there's enough to go around on the Philadelphia offense to score points. But like Nelson said, you can have some stinker weeks, right? Every team lays an egg every once in a while. So it could blow up in your face. But if you're doing it with the right offense, I think it can work with 3, definitely. Samaje Perine goes to team 2 right in front of Nelson. Nelson, what are your thoughts on positions here that you're looking at?
I'm looking at a tight end position because
That's what I was wondering.
I change it every year, but I used to like punting tight end in this format, and I would wait. Sometimes I would wait till like the 15th round to choose a tight end. But I've been taking tight ends a little earlier.
Yeah, last couple of years, those 15th round tight ends have not worked out. I know because I've waited on tight ends as well, and boy, they've been stinkers.
All right, I'm definitely taking this guy, and then I just got to decide what else I want to do. So I'm gonna utilize and use up my clock here.
All right, lots of upside with Kincaid. I saw Kay Adams was just in the Bills camp, and everybody's talking about Dalton Kincaid, she said. I mean, they're going to play either 2 tight end sets or they're going to put him out wide, I think, an awful lot. He's like a big wide receiver.
Yeah.
That's right. Team 3 does have 6 wide receivers. Hey, he's loading up. He got 2 good running backs, and he's loading up there. Here we go, Nico Collins. Upside pick there again. Another young guy who's got a chance to be wide receiver 1 in that offense, right?
Yeah. So by me waiting to fill my third wide receiver spot, um, although very exciting, Elijah Moore and Zay Flowers, they're no guarantee
Yep.
to pan out. And a lot of times these guys in these later rounds tend to fizzle, even though there's some excitement behind them. So I want to try to I want to try to build some depth there
Yep.
and just see how it shakes out.
All right. I want you to look at team 2 because we're not trying to criticize, but like you said, he started out with Chase and he still only has 3 wide receivers, but he's got 5 running backs. So he's kind of gone the opposite of you. His strength, he started out with Chase and Burrow, but now he's trying to get a lot of depth at running back. Thoughts there?
Yeah, I don't love it as it's been going on here with the draft. You know, Sutton and Sky, again, if we look at just from a positive lens, you can see how it could work out for those guys, but you got to look at it from the possibility that it doesn't work out. And of course, we got to draft like we're drafting, like we're right,
Right.
okay, and we know what we're doing. But I think that once you have those 3 running backs there, I even get the Pirine pick because he's
Mhm.
got Javante, but I think the Zach Charbonnet pick needs to be a wide receiver there
Yeah.
to build that depth.
All right, we'll see what kind of depth he gets in the next 2 rounds. Team 3, again, he's going with those anchor 2 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and he grabs Tua as his quarterback. I don't see a hook up there. There's no Waddle. So Tua he felt was the best quarterback, QB 10. And then Team 5 grabs his quarterback, everyone except for Team 6, and we'll see what Team 6 does here. He gets Daniel Jones. Team 6 says, no, don't need a quarterback right now. I'm passing on that. Goes with Khalil Herbert as his 4th running back.
Yeah, that's probably a situation where um, he probably has a couple of quarterbacks in mind that he's going to
Yeah.
take later in the draft,
Yeah.
and he took Michael Thomas as like his 5th wide receiver, so he probably looks at it as like Montgomery is solid as an RB2, but taking Dylan and Herbert probably means that in the back of his mind he's probably kind of unsettled with
Yeah.
that RB2 spot, so he's trying to build some depth there.
Absolutely. All right, Daniel Jones, the hookup. Darren Waller. There you go. So lots of hookups here tonight. And even when you get a later quarterback, you can still hook them up with Waller. So interesting there. Bateman goes late in round 10. Again, Zay Flowers going a couple rounds ahead of him now, as Bateman's been falling recently. Speaking of falling, Pat Fryermuth, a little bit of falling as well. Adam Thielen goes to team 11 in round 10 as we're going to round out 10 rounds here. We're going to probably do 12 or 13 rounds, and then we'll get off the air. We like to do about an hour here. Don't need to stick around for the last rounds, but we enjoy getting the analysis from our drafters. We thank you, Nelson, for doing this again on a Friday night, and we're glad that everyone's able to see what this looks like. So interesting.
No, absolutely, and I always invite anyone that's in the draft, if they feel like I didn't really touch on their team or talk about their team much.
Yep.
You know, please go ahead and ask me questions in the chat or whatever, and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. Again, I'm gonna like some things. I'm gonna dislike some things, and
Yep.
it's just my opinion at the end of the day. So
Absolutely. And you can always contact him at ftnfantasy.com. Real quickly, Nelson, what you got cooking over there? Updated cheat sheets. You guys are doing a podcast, I see, with Maddie and Vlad too, right?
yeah, so we got the high stakes
Yeah.
fantasy podcast, and it's going to be Maddie, Vlad, and myself, and that should be fun. That's going to be on a weekly basis, and we're just going to talk about our drafts and how to build teams, talk about the news, whatever's coming up, and then over at FTN Fantasy, I've got updating my rankings and my cheat sheet. My rankings basically is my cheat sheet. It's how I draft. I draft off of that. I don't go into a draft and draft off of the software. So I have my own rankings that I follow, and we have the Discord chat. That's a big feature that guys utilize, where they can ask me questions on a daily basis. Like just today, a couple of guys have their drafts coming up, and they're asking questions about certain players like Kamara. Okay, where kind of where do we rank him? How do we feel if presented with that opportunity? We have like guys like Jacobs, Kenny Walker, Jonathan Taylor, all these guys. It's actually a great time to be drafting because there's so much uncertainty, and it's great because like these guys don't fall into this like ADP zombie effect, where it's you know what I'm saying, Greg, where it's like just every draft looks the same. It's like, oh, okay, this is boring. I like drafts like this tonight where guys are just kind of going all over the place, and you can have 6-7 drafters that are in the draft, and they just pass on certain players, and then they you wonder, like, how did this guy drop in that draft? Well, every draft is different, especially with all that uncertainty going on.
Yep, and then you got to make a tough decision if you want to draft a guy that you've been fading all year because the value is just too damn good. So you take him, and that's what you did.
I had to do that. Yeah.
That's what makes it fun, for sure. All right, some interesting ones here in round 11. Tank Bigsby goes, and he did not go to the ETN owner. I guess you don't need to have both of those guys. You got to hope that ETN gets the job. But Bigsby goes in round 11. He's moving on up in drafts. How about Mims, right? I mean, he's got the opportunity with Tim Patrick being hurt. Marvin Mims goes to Team 7 in round 11. Team 6, now, he does not want a quarterback right now. He's passing on quarterbacks. He's daring anybody to take their second quarterback ahead of him.
Yeah, that's interesting. He's definitely gonna punt QB. So there's still some good ones available. So no need to to worry at this point. But it'll be interesting because Team 6, I know him very well, and he's actually usually a early QB type of guy.
Oh, okay.
So it is interesting to see him push that position back.
Interesting. All right, you're up on the clock for 2 here. We'll watch this. We'll stick around to your last 2 on 13 and 14 and then call it a night. But some good stuff here. Was that Kendre Miller? Yeah, Kendre Miller went to Team 3. That's his third running back. Interesting. Again, Kamara's suspended for 3 games. So I don't know if you're playing Miller in the first couple of weeks anyways, but that's a good insurance policy there. But I think he's still going to need to get another veteran, at least backup running back for Team 3 there. Dalton Schultz, we had 3 tight ends go off the board this round. Dalton Schultz is interested in Houston, and Houston's going to be interesting to watch. Young team, we'll see how they play this year. DJ Chark, talking about him being wide receiver 1 there and really hooking up with Bryce Young. You hammered these wide receivers after you got those 3 running backs.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those uncomfortable feeling in just not being happy with the wide receivers that you have. Again, ton of upside, but they could all fizzle. So let's see.
I've had you on the last 2 Fridays, and both times you took 3 running backs early. So I got to stop live streaming with you. I think I'm bad luck to you.
Yeah. You know what?
More upside.
Yeah, now I'm done. I'm done at wide receiver.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 7 wide receivers.
Yeah.
All right, here come the backup quarterbacks, which Team 6 wasn't worried about, but Goff and Prescott go off the board here. We'll see what Team 6 ends up with. What do we got? 11, 12. That's 13 quarterbacks. Can I ask you one thing? And this is my Aaron Rodgers one. So Garrett Wilson goes early in the second round. I mean, he goes 13 a lot of times, 14 times, a lot of times. He went 19 today. How can Wilson be going so high and Rodgers going as QB 16 in our drafts? I mean, isn't there a correlation that if Wilson has a good year, Rodgers has a good year?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at last year, Devontae Adams was going pretty early, and Derek Carr was not.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So, I guess it's possible to be really, happy with the wide receiver that you're getting, but feel like that it's going to be a concentrated targets, right? So,
all right, here he's got a chance to get this combination. He's got a chance to get Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Oh, and he goes with Cousins.
Yep. Okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No.
Cousins is definitely the higher drafted fantasy QB.
Yep. Yeah, that's just a situation where he ranks Cousins, comfortably ahead of Rodgers, and he didn't worry about the stack.
Right, I agree. Yeah, and I would take Cousins ahead of Rodgers right now. I've been talking with Tom about this, that if Wilson is so good, Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Everybody thinks he's committed this year, which he obviously is. Gave back $35 million. You would think his draft value would move up a little bit more, but it really isn't. Again, he's QB 16. We got 11, 12, 13. We got 14 quarterbacks off the board right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I like a lot of the builds that these guys have put together, just the way the teams look. There's probably only a couple of teams where I think they might have made a misstep, again, in my opinion. But overall, I think the room is pretty sharp, and I like the fact that the way some of these players dropped, and you know that either it's kind of like some new players that are not familiar with ADP are in the room, or you're in a room full of sharp drafters because of it wasn't just vanilla. And you know what I'm saying? They all have strong opinions of who they like, and guys will get pushed up and guys will drop.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good group tonight. They had plans with the stacks. They had plans on which way they were going to go with the running backs earlier, the wide receivers really strong early. So this is good draft. I mean, last night I was doing one with James, and Henry went way too early, and it just kind of threw the whole room off. And that owner kept taking different ones each round, and pushing guys up 2 rounds almost, if you will, and it just kind of threw the whole room off. So we didn't see any of that tonight. So good stuff. Here we are. We're going to be done with round 12. We're 53 minutes in. I mean, this is going to be an hour and a half. I think that 8 o'clock one you were in tonight was less than an hour and a half, because I tried to get the draft board and the draft was over with already. So these things are cruising.
It was like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I went at the bottom of the hour. I said, I'm going to call up that draft board, and it was over with already. I was like, oh my goodness. So, but yeah, these get done pretty quick. Even those midnight owls, they start at 11:55. Again, I need my beauty sleep. I'm not the one watching those. Derek is, but those get done really quick as well. So jump on into a RotoWire Online Championship. It's going to be a busy, busy weekend for sure. I think we're going to have 4 to 5 full drafts each night, Saturday and Sunday. So Laporta, he's an interesting one. The ship chasing guys were talking about him as well. I mean, he's the number 1 guy in Detroit. I know wide receiver, tight ends, rookie tight ends are tough. They don't get as many targets and such, but boy, Laporta's got a chance there. So he's got,
I mean, he's the number 2. Right. Technically, you could argue he's the number 2 behind Amon-Ra.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you have Gibbs, you have a running game with them, but where I see where Laporta can be playable and useful is if that offense and Goff take the next step forward to the next level, then yes, I think that you can play Amon-Ra, you can play Gibbs, Montgomery, and Laporta. They're
Yeah.
not all going to get it done every week,
Right.
but overall, over the course of like a month, you know, they're going to be able to get it done.
Yep.
If they don't take a step forward, which I find it hard. I'm bullish on Detroit. I think with that offensive line and another year with Johnson, the OC there,
Yep.
I think they will. So that's my opinion. I
Yep.
think that those guys are capable of coexisting.
Yeah, no, I agree too. And as your tight end too, that's a good upside play. I like that pick an awful lot, like what 12 did. Rodgers goes as QB 15 tonight. He's backing up Fields on Team 9's team. Rodgers, you're backing up a Bears quarterback. My goodness, embarrassing. But that's what happens when you leave Green Bay. So we got Ford goes here at Team 7. He's didn't handcuff him with Chubb. That's Team 5. That's got Chubb. And there you go. He goes Cousins and Geno Smith for Team 6. Those are his two veteran quarterbacks. All right. Well, we're going to watch Nelson with his 2 picks, and we're going to call it a night. We thank everybody for coming on here again. Another good crowd on a Friday night. Hope you learned something from this. This is a tough room. Everybody knew what they were doing, so it was a good one. Again, go to playnffc.com, and this is the RotoWire Online Championship. Again, I think we're going to approach 5,000 teams this year, $250,000 grand prize, record-breaking year. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is our 20th anniversary. It's hard to believe we've been doing this for 20 years, but there we go. All right, we had to get a defense off the board before we called it a night. So Team 3 takes the first one with 49ers. Eagles will probably go off the board not too far from now. All right, Nelson, cap off our night.
Now, yeah.
Jay says he's doing his share to get to 5,000. We appreciate it, Jay. We definitely do it. See, I had a feeling you were going to take the Eagles defense. So Eagles D and Tyler Higbee. All right, Nelson, thank you very much tonight. Good luck with all your leagues. Again, we got 11:55 p.m. Eastern Time RotoWire Online Championship on registration. I don't know how close we are to filling that one, but it'll probably fill. Jump on in at playnffc.com. Nelson, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week. All right.
All right. Enjoy the weekend, Greg.
All right. You too. See y'all. Bye-bye.